Hey everybody, this is the petition against the Global Compact for Migration, and you can continue to sign until the 21st of February. That's 120 days after the petition was introduced into the House. Those are the rules for the petition. We've already signed the Global Compact for Migration, or I've heard that we're signing officially tomorrow. I've heard conflicting reports that the 10th was a ceremonial signing and the actual signing is tomorrow, and I've also heard that it's on the 19th. So I don't know if it's been signed or if it's pending signature. A new government, if elected, can withdraw us from this compact, but it looks like they're trying to, they being the UN and the people who are for this compact, are trying to push it through anyway, through judges and international frameworks in that regard. So not that this might not matter. The reason signing this matters is because the more signatures on it, the better it looks. So you can sign at the top or the bottom, but it's not going to change the fact that we've agreed to this, and it's not going to change the fact that Canada is committed to this for whatever reason. Well, not for whatever reason, because Justin Trudeau is sucking up to the UN in order to get a UN position after we soundly throw him out of Canada and Canadian leadership. Come and join the conversation as well. I abhor censorship. I don't like it at all. So come and have an uncensored conversation about Canadian politics on CanadaPoly.com. You have to register to see the forums, so you have to register to read and register to respond. But we've got some conversations going. Come and join us. We'd love to have you. On to today's stories, and today's stories do have to touch with the Global Compact on Migration. It's actually all open borders today, with some baby news, which I found interesting, and Yellow Vest news as well. So here's the beginning of this. Andrew Scheer agrees to the CANZUK agreement. And what is CANZUK? CANZUK is an open borders agreement between Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, and New Zealand, which, if you've been paying attention to what the UK has become, that could be problematic. This was posted yesterday, and well, here we go. It says, increased push for free movement between Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. Armed with the official support from the federal Conservatives in Canada, that's Andrew Scheer, everybody, and the promise of a Brexit deal next year, advocates of an agreement calling for freer trade, movement, and a greater cooperation between Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom are ramping up their efforts. Although the idea has been floating around for several years, organizers of the non-profit organization CANZUK International say their proposal is well on the way to becoming reality thanks to greater support from politicians and the public in each of the four countries and the UK's impending divorce from the European Union, which will allow it to negotiate a new arrangement with other countries. And they say specifically later in this article and in the next one I'll show you that they're not looking at shared government or shared currency or anything to that effect. But again, I think that this is, we're not thinking about that, just like the UN Compact for Global Migration is non-binding. I think that's how much they're thinking about it. So this news article posted yesterday was reporting that Mr. Scheer was on board. I tried to find a news release or an article talking about that. It went back to January 2018 of this year, and it confirms, this article talks about Mr. Scheer being supportive of it, although it was before he won the leadership, I believe. Nope, I was wrong. This was when he was leader, and this article confirms that he supports this. So it says the idea has been around for a while, but has recently picked up steam with support from a handful of Canadian and foreign politicians, including Conservative leader Andrew Scheer, and this was January 2018. So Mr. Scheer is unequivocally for an open border, and my question after reading this was, how many non-profit organizations that are taxpayer funded, and I don't know if CANZUK is taxpayer funded, but I'm sure once I start looking, I will find that they're taxpayer funded, are proposing open borders or just no borders for Canada at all. So CANZUK is one. The Century Initiative, which we know has a founder who is one of the advisors for economic growth. He's the chair of the Advisory for Economic Growth. So he is one of the consultants for the government who tells them how to grow the economy. So his job is to tell the government how to grow the economy, and he wants to grow Canada to 100 million people by 2100. 100 million people. We're at 37 million people right now. We were at 30 million people in 2000. So that rate of growth is very, very, very fast. And they're on track to do it. They are on track to do this. It's incredible. So that's the Century Initiative. That's CANZUK. That's 2. Here's 3, the Institute for Canadian Citizenship. And this is former Governor General Adrienne Clarkson. And she says, quote, our vision at the ICC keeps in mind that eventually Canada's net population growth will be entirely attributed to immigration. These are taxpayer funded charities, I suppose, whose stated goal is to replace the Canadian population with a full 100% immigrant population. That is the stated goal. That's insanity. Maxime Bernier is tweeting, sign it if you haven't tweeted, sign it if you haven't yet. He's tweeting, sign it if you haven't tweeted yet. And RT retweet to make sure it is the most signed e-petition by an even larger margin. We need to keep this issue alive. En français, and the same thing. And this is a link to the same petition. And I was reading through Twitter today, and I follow Lindsay Sheppard. I like Jordan Peterson, and I was watching this whole thing. Geographically, I'm close to Waterloo, so I know the universities, and I found this tweet interesting. So, and I was paying attention when this whole Lindsay Sheppard thing happened, like the initial news articles about Wilfrid Laurier and their awful meeting with her, and then she put up the tape and stuff. Just, it was a very interesting time, and what she's done with it is interesting too. But here's her tweet, quote, Muhammad is the #1 baby name in Mississauga, Brampton area of Ontario. I used to work in Mississauga. I walked through the big mall to get to the office building and would notice an overall lack of white babies. Never commented on it though, too anecdotal. Good to have some info. And the info is Toronto Star article, and I'll show you the article. It says, Muhammad and Peel Maverick in the Sioux, a look at top baby names across Ontario. And so it's just a article. It's got lists of top boy names and top girl names for 2017, but it breaks down by region as well. And so it's interesting data. But what I wanted to show you was the hate she's getting, right? So it's not okay to point out that white people are having fewer babies because somebody's going to say, quote, who the blank walks through a mall and just happens to notice a lack of white babies. God damn, you're racist for showing. And Lindsay Sheppard actually replied to this. I'm going to find that. Hold on. And she says, quote, pregnant women like myself who are also interested in social phenomena, such as white women having less children. No, not that crazy a notion. And yeah, once you have children, you start to look around and realize that the world is a different place than you thought it was, honestly. And it's not racist to notice things like that. And it's also interesting that the first time that she noticed it, she didn't comment because it was too anecdotal. It's like, yeah, maybe there are other reasons for this. We don't have enough data yet. But now news articles are reporting it, and it's quite okay to point it out, apparently. And the final news today is the yellow vests in France, and this made me howl. I saw this last night. This interface is terrible. I'm sorry. The French are hurling manure at government buildings. Classic. Here we go. Yeah. Yep. So that's going to stink. And you think that's about taxes? Lawyers in France, another tweet breaking, lawyers in France throw their law books on the floor. Lawyers don't acknowledge the corrupt pro-EU system anymore. This is not about gasoline taxes. That's powerful. I mean, law is the foundation of Western society, individual responsibility, individual freedoms, and they being the EU and the UN, are trying to change it into a group mentality. And to some degree, it's working, which is incredible. But at least the lawyers are standing up, which is good to see. The people are standing up with their yellow vests and their manure and their tractors. That's going to stink. That made me howl. Really, it was fantastic. And I've seen pictures from yesterday's protests as well. Edmonton had CTV and CBC News reporting, and there were some other Canada-wide, protests that happened. So this is a protest that is spreading, and as I've been saying, this is a worldwide phenomenon, all protesting the same thing that's happening in all of our different countries, in France, in the United Kingdom, in Belgium, and Canada. It's all the same globalist sickness, and they're trying to push it down our throats. And the yellow vests is a common movement and an easy symbol to take up the mantle in Canada. I think there are protests scheduled for today. Link will be in the description. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Stay safe, be nonviolent, but let the government know in no uncertain terms that they do not represent us. Canada does not want globalist governing, period. Globalist governments are not welcome here. Justin Trudeau is not welcome in the Prime Minister's office anymore.